The worst possible way to end your story, movie, novel, or onstage show is by far, without a shadow of a doubt, the Deus Ex Machina. Typically, it goes something like this. The entire story is built up to the climax, and the author has written themselves into a corner, so they have to pull out some new or incredibly powerful force to help finish the story off. Now, the Deus Ex Machina has been used for thousands of years as a storytelling tool. The term dates all the way back to ancient Greek theater and means God from the machine in Latin. You see, sometimes playwrights could write themselves into a corner, and as a result, they'd introduce a god into the story to fix everything as soon as they could. This was done using an actual mechanical crane to lower an actor down playing a deity onto the stage, almost as if they were descending from the heavens to intervene. Over the years, the Deus Ex Machina became a general term used for any sudden, unexpected resolution to a story, usually one that feels forced or overly convenient. And this happens more often than you might think in modern cinema. Even some of the most beloved movies of all time have Deus Ex Machinas, and although it doesn't ruin them by any means, alternate ways to resolve the conflict maybe could have been used for some of these endings to make them more satisfying, or at least some foreshadowing of certain events could have been nice. Two examples of pseudo Deus Ex Machinas that aren't world-crumbling, terrible ways to end the story are as follows. Before we dive in, please be sure to like and subscribe to help push out educational videos just like this one to passionate storytellers like yourselves. Number 1. Whenever Avatar Aang runs away from his friends, in kind of an odd dream state, he awakens on a floating island which he soon discovers is not an island at all. It's a giant lion turtle, which is kind of random at this point in the series. It's season 3 of the show in the finale. Then the mystical beast gives Aang a new ability, to take away someone's bending forever. This ultimately came down to the writers needing a way for Aang to be able to defeat the Fire Lord without actually taking his life. Except they couldn't find a way to do it without introducing a new character, never mentioned before, who gives Aang new powers, which can conveniently defeat the main antagonist of the story. And it does work really well, actually. It gives Aang the agency he needs to win this fight the way he wants to win it. And no hate to Avatar at all, it's a great show. Some consider it the greatest show of all time. Another slightly more annoying example would be that of the final battle in Avengers Endgame. While our heroes are getting absolutely throttled, the fire from Thanos' ship above halts. It turns and fires into an unseen force in the sky. Captain Marvel arrives. A hero who we've barely seen in this universe up to this point, and beyond that, almost completely missing from the entirety of the movie. Again, Avengers Endgame is great in a lot of ways. This is not one of them, though. It makes the ending feel cheaper, like it wasn't truly won using the skills of the heroes that they had at their disposal. A Deus Ex Machina that generally impacts the overall story and characters in a negative way would be that of the 2010 movie adaptation Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. After entering the underworld and facing Hades, the conflict is de-escalated quickly by Persephone, knocking Hades out with no real struggle. Pearls Percy was given earlier in the movie are used as an instant escape button for himself, Grover, Annabeth, and his mother, who all leave the underworld behind. There's no real emotional impact, and the whole conflict Percy has in the book is erased. Conversely, in the novel, Percy actually has to make a hard choice. 3 people can leave, but 1 must stay. That would have been so much better. An actual sacrifice he has to make, growth he has to have, responsibility he must take on. Ultimately, he leaves his mother and promises to come back for her, which he eventually does. Now that would have been 10 times better. And the real sucky part is, they had a story they could have adapted into a movie with a well-written plot, and they just threw it out the window. But yeah, the Deus Ex Machina is a lazy way to write yourself out of a conflict, and this really is why planning your story as far through as you can, ideally to the end before you write, is the best way to avoid situations like this. That could literally mean a note card explaining what happens in each scene, one that describes the arc of each character, just something to avoid situations like this, when characters actually have to use their skills to get out of a tough situation, rather than just really dumb luck. It makes the story's ending so much more satisfying.